Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entrepreneur Talk. My name is Brett from Alibaba.com, and in this series, we get to talk to Alibaba.com sellers from the US and around the world to gain insight into doing business globally. Now, today, our special guest is the CEO of Atlas Network. They are a supplier of customized products in a variety of industries, including liquor bottles, which we have in our showcase here today. They also do golf accessories and a bunch of other luxury goods. And here at the Alibaba.com Los Angeles office today, we are also very happy to introduce them as the first US-based verified supplier on Alibaba.com. Now, what is a verified supplier, you may ask? Well, a verified supplier is a seller on Alibaba.com that has gone through a strict third-party verification process to ensure the accuracy of their business profile on Alibaba.com. And why is that important? Well, trust is the foundation of any business dealing. And in international wholesale trade, it is even more important when buyers are dealing with large orders from factories they may never visit. So for buyers, working with verified suppliers helps reduce trust-related barriers. And for sellers, that translates into more orders and more customers from around the globe. Now, speaking of trust, it is also something that takes time to build. And businesses are often faced with the decision of whether to invest in building trust with multiple factories and supply chain partners over months or years, or to work with strategic partners who have already built those relationships and can bring those assets to the table in an efficient and affordable way. So when should a business outsource their sourcing and supply chain? Well, to help me answer that question, it is now my pleasure to bring on the CEO of the Atlas Network, Kerim Kfuri, to discuss this very topic. Kerim, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us, Brett. Really appreciate it.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you here. I appreciate your time. Kerim, before we get into the topic of when a business should outsource their sourcing and supply chain, first, tell us some more about yourself and the Atlas Network.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Kerim Antoine Kfuri. I am the president and CEO of the Atlas Network. The Atlas Network is a end-to-end mass production and supply chain solutions company. We have been in business since 2005. Helping companies navigate the difficult waters of international mass production, import logistics, and basically the full end-to-end kind of supply chain process. We are very proud to facilitate productions through close to 2,000 factory partners and networks globally, and facilitate work within commodities, textiles, innovation products, a whole host of different kinds of materials, substrates, and technologies. So really our goal, more than anything else, is to make the mass production process simple and turnkey, easy for businesses to basically be able to then scale and thrive in their own ways. So very proud of what we do here, and very happy to be on the show today.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Appreciate the insights into what your company does. So building a supply chain, it takes a lot of time and effort. And while the overall process is similar across industries, there can be a lot of nuances sourcing and delivering different products that can cause each product or each project to have its own unique challenges. So when a business asks itself whether they should source something in-house or outsource their sourcing and supply chain, can you give us the top 3 things a business should consider when making this decision?
Absolutely. I would basically say, in kind of layman's terms, generally, this really comes down to aspects of money and capital, also aspects of risk, specifically risk mitigation, and then finally, your availability of time and resources. So I would say that these are kind of the 3 main overarching areas of consideration when looking to outsource kind of the mass production and supply chain part of your business. We can talk about each one of these things one by one if you'd like. And I guess I could start with that if you like. Like I said, money, risk, and time are really the three big topics of consideration. Would you like me to talk about each one of these one by one? Or
Yeah, let's start off with money first. So how do you consider money as a factor? A lot of businesses, maybe they want to find a factory to do something, and the first thought is, oh, we can just find a factory and save money doing that. But is that true? Can they save money, working with a third party partner, because of maybe reasons they haven't thought of?
Well, most definitely. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we have a network that's almost 2,000 suppliers and factories. With this in mind, we're able to kind of get a true understanding of proper costs on a product to product basis. Matter of fact, when most quotes come into us for projects, we don't go to any less than about 5 or 7 factories to really understand kind of the price differences. Some of the price differences can be legitimate. There are different regions overseas that may have higher costs of labor or different kinds of utilities that could factor into this. But the reality of it is by having a large scale network, and that is why we're called the Atlas Network, we are able to really kind of deep dive into many different supply chain opportunities and really be able to facilitate kind of the best cost structure, and that flows through to kind of the money and capital that a customer has available or is looking to spend. So absolutely working through a third party such as ours that has a robust network gives an organization or company a leg up with regards to being able to negotiate better cost structures, better payment terms, and really be able to kind of stretch the dollar in a way that they may not even know that they can do, by trying to go directly to a particular factory. So I would say that we definitely assist greatly in sort of the money / capital reasoning behind why third party outsourcing would make sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think uh, relationships and quantity, they translate into cost savings. So if you go to a factory, that first order, you often don't get the best pricing you can. The best pricing comes with established relationships over many years, showing that you're a repeat customer, providing the quantities that factories are expecting. A lot of businesses perhaps can't meet those quantity requirements over time, or they haven't put in the time and investment to create those relationships. So that's when third-party partners who have those established networks, those long-term relationships with factories, that's when that really comes into play. And then, businesses, they also save money from the efficiency and the experience of the partner. If you are sourcing something new, especially when it comes to things that may have regulations or a lot of difficulties in the design process, then that experience that comes with a third party partner will definitely save you money in the long term.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that, in many ways, kind of segueing to that next topic regarding kind of risks.
Yeah.
This is, and we can talk about this now if you like, but basically, money and risk also go hand in hand, very much so, because I often will tell someone, okay, well, if you save yourself 10 cents by doing it, let's say directly, but you end up losing $1 in headaches, meaning because of the fact that things aren't done properly and there isn't proper risk mitigation strategies, which we'll talk about now as far as what we do here at Atlas to work through those things, then in the end of the day, a product really ends up costing you so much more than you would have ever imagined, along with all kinds of additional liabilities and risks. So money and risk do go hand in hand. And we feel that what we do here as a business is reduce these risks. So then in turn, you actually do see the cost savings that you think you should see and then some. So, I can talk through some aspects of risk if you like, or if you want to discuss anything specific. It's as you.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us
Sure.
some things to consider when you're
Sure.
talking about risk and sourcing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's really kind of three main parts to the kind of the mass production process. And then there's a whole bunch of other risks that fall outside of that that are also part of just general sourcing. So
Mm.
from a kind of mass production side of things and sourcing side of things, we have the same kind of three pillars of our business that we've had since our very beginning, and we do across any kind of product, no matter what it is. And the first step is picking the right factory, picking the right supplier. This is absolutely critical. So what does it mean? It means a supplier that has all of their accreditations in place, so you know that they're above board. It means suppliers that basically have many years in doing this kind of work, many years in dealing in the international markets, so they understand certain levels of quality and delivery mechanisms. And then also, signing agreements with these actual suppliers or factories to hold them to the highest standards possible. Many folks who try to do this individually don't understand the importance of actually having a contract in the international market. So this is something that we do as kind of the first pillar: picking the right supplier, ensuring that you have a good contract in place, and managing that from the very kind of outset. The next part of kind of the next pillar for us is eyes and ears on the ground. We have offices overseas. We have trained factory managers, quality control people, and logistics people that are in these factories and suppliers areas every day, every week, every month. And those eyes and ears on the ground are very important to kind of push the envelope, because the reality of it is that suppliers, regardless of where they are in the world, do what suppliers slash factories manufacturing does, which is look to kind of push people around, cut corners, and do things, regardless of how good they are or how many years of business they've been there. And what really kind of makes things go forward and gives proper risk mitigation is being that squeaky wheel that gets the grease. And you only do that via physical presence, being there on the ground and doing that. So the second pillar for us is really kind of a on-site presence, eyes and ears on the ground. And then the third part of kind of the manufacturing process and giving risk mitigation is third-party attestation. We understand this is a very important concept in the financial world, audit firms, so on and so forth. Well, in manufacturing, it's equally important, if not more so, where we have a third party, such as a Bureau Veritas or B-Trust, large-scale audit firm, or even testing firm, depending upon particular products like SGS or Intertech, that will kick the tires, do a full barrage of testing on site or off site, depending upon the products, and make sure that everything was caught by the factory supplier's internal QC protocols, our QC protocols, and then additional sort of just industry standard protocols. So by doing this process of picking the right supplier, and then having eyes and ears on the ground or on-site presence, and then having third-party attestation, now you've created a very strong risk mitigation strategy for the manufacturing part of this process. Outside of that, there are other sort of I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed that relate to, getting it from where it is to where it needs to get to. And this is a mechanism of things such as a logistical process, packing, even things like inspections of the pallets and the containers, things like on the pallets for just like making sure that the wood pallets are properly fumigated against like wood boring insects, making sure that the containers themselves are actually inspected to ensure there's no leaks or other things that could happen with these containers through time that could really spoil the goods inside. You could have mold issues. You could have all kinds of things where someone wouldn't even think. So perfect example with logistics, every container that we ship out, we put anti-humidity packets inside of the pallets and hang huge, bags of this, inside of the containers to reduce the humidity content inside of the containers. This is an extra step that a lot of people don't do, who ship thousands of containers. They don't do that. We do that for our customers. So you have to think that extra step, and that just comes with years of experience, being around for almost 20 years. So, the logistical process is an area of kind of risk mitigation. And then, one other area, honestly, is financial risk. And I say that because, a lot of folks who try to go ahead and, let's say, just find a random factory and send them money blindly and this, that, and the other, they lose their recourse if there's an issue with the factory. However, in our case, factories pay us. We're a US-based company, to our US-based bank accounts. We then facilitate payments on their behalf to the overseas suppliers when particular benchmarks are met per the agreement and the contract that we have with that factory and according to the payment terms. In this way, reducing the financial risk and giving added levels of protection against those risks with the overseas market. So I think that that's quite a critical role that we play. We don't charge extra for that kind of thing. It's just part of what we do as part of our general sort of method of doing business. And the reality of it is when it comes to manufacturing and supply chain, the person who controls the purse strings is really the quarterback on the field. And so by having that leverage, the financial leverage over the factory or supplier, we are able to command their behavior on behalf of our customers, which is, I think, quite important too. So those are just some aspects around kind of manufacturing risks, sort of logistical and transport type of risks, and then some levels of aspect of financial protections and financial risk too.
Yeah, those are all some really interesting points you raised. So let's talk about how time factors into all of this. So how do businesses need to consider time when thinking about sourcing and managing the supply chain?
Well, a large amount of our businesses that we work with are really the small to mid-sized businesses. We do work with larger multinationals or conglomerates at times, but really the small to mid-sized businesses are a huge kind of sweet spot for us. And the reason why is because we give them back their time. And this is absolutely critical when you're trying to pioneer a new product as an entrepreneur, or you're trying to have a new SKU come to market, and so on and so forth. The equivalent to what we do for these customers would be for them to open up an entire office overseas, have a full staff that goes in, manages these productions, has to do these kinds of processes, as well as probably some additional logistical folks and things of that nature. And we've seen businesses that are small and mid-sized try to do that, and they bury themselves because they spend all their time on basically productions, operations, management, and not enough on basically bringing a new product to market or working on sales or go-to-market strategy or all these other things that are very, very critical, especially for small to mid-sized businesses. So we give them back their most important asset, especially for those size companies, which is their time. So yeah, it's absolutely, absolutely essential that we give that back to them, which is in the form of money, so forth. The other aspect of it too is that, again, in being in the business for a long time and having a large scale network and things of that nature, we're able to really allow these folks to scale through time too, because we're able to bring them opportunities. We're able to allow them to have faster sales cycles, whereas they may be chasing down XYZ supplier for 6 months or 8 months to get their products. We can go into that factory in a matter of a day and say, what's happening here? We need these things by then, or you're not getting what you need to get facilitated via the contract, and be able to push things to get things in line so companies can meet their sales needs, their sales targets, and so on and so forth. And I'm very proud to say that during the pandemic, when supply chain became this huge buzzword, we'd been doing it for 15 plus years before that, but we were able to scale our business significantly because of so many scenarios where companies came and said, we can't get our products for a year. We can't get our products for 6 months. They don't know how to get it to us. They say that they don't have what they, we were able to then do what we've always done, which is supply chain solutions. Let's find you a better supplier. Let's find you a better mechanism. And I'm very happy to say that we didn't really skip a beat for our existing customers, and then picked up a whole bunch of new customers during this difficult time because they had supply chains that were inefficient and were broken, and we gave them back their time and got them back in business, which I think was very, very important and a key thing to what we do here at the Atlas Network.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, congratulations to the pandemic boon for your company. I think time is one of those underestimated factors in this process. You know, a lot of people think things are going to happen very quickly or it's going to be an easy process, but you know, how fast you can actually find the supplier, do the audit, and then not only that, once you find a supplier, but be able to communicate efficiently and clearly, be familiar with, you know, all of the different aspects of the process, the manufacturing process, the product itself, and then maintaining that relationship throughout the entire thing. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and it ends up taking a lot more time than I think a lot of people expect, especially if they're not familiar with the product or the process. So appreciate those insights. All right, so we talked a lot of details about money, risk, and time when deciding whether you want to outsource your sourcing and supply chain. So can you do this for the audience? Can you maybe summarize in a sentence or two, like each main point for money, risk, and time? What should you consider? What should you think about?
Absolutely. I mean, I think when it comes to money, it's really about how far you can stretch your dollar. And one of the things that we do over here, which is very important, is we do a very good kind of cost benefit analysis where we would say, okay, you know, you've gone out, you've tried to do this on your own. Where were you landing? This is us going out to our network and coming back and showing you, here's, you know, 20 or 30% savings, plus you have a whole team, plus you have risk mitigation, plus you have all these other things that really will save you a lot in the long term. Or sometimes actually punching some holes in what a customer believes is their best price, where it may be kind of there may be a lot of hidden costs that they haven't even considered. And when we add everything up, you know, we end up being the same with all these bells and whistles or even better, but they may not have really kind of looked at all of the different aspects of what the costs are involved. So a deep dive regarding cost structure to really understand how much savings can be had and so forth is important. On the risk side of things, you know, I talked a lot about that, but the key is a proper mechanism, whether you're doing it internally or outsourcing, that manages the manufacturing, that manages sort of the like logistical and transport side, and that manages basically your overarching business risks, which can be financial and so on, is very critical for any business who is looking to do this. And we do all of that for customers, and they are very happy and pleased with the service we provide because it is significant. And as I mentioned before, it would require hiring an entire team and probably having it be overseas. And that's an additional level of time and additional level of risk and management and so on, that some companies just say, hey, I just don't want to do any of that. So that's really regarding kind of risk mitigation strategy. And then finally, you know, on the time conversation, it's as we were saying before, our goal is to really give the time back to the business so that they can thrive, so that they can scale, so that they can do what they need to do, which is focus in on the marketing and the sales, so that they can then grow and build and develop, instead of using that precious time to, you know, chase down really suppliers and manufacturing process, regardless on how good or bad it may be. It's just you have to stay on top of that process. You have to continually dot the I's, cross the T's. We have a concept here, a mantra here, that every production is the first time. So we look at every single mass production, reorders, or whatever else it is, as the first time you're doing this, because anything can change. Different people on the line, different environmental conditions, just different variations. So, you know, we look to give folks back that time by, you know, really paying very close attention, being very detail driven. That's a critical component for us here at Atlas, to give folks back their time through methodical oversight.
Well, before we go, can you tell us a success story, maybe a cool or an interesting product or project you've done? What were the customers' challenges? How did you provide the solutions?
Sure. So without getting, giving away too many names, I'll just basically kind of talk about it in a generic, because we try to,
Yeah,
maintain
of course.
confidentiality of our customers. But we did have a customer that was in the Caribbean that essentially was a spirits brand. It was one of the oldest and most respected spirits brands in this region, and they sort of fell into kind of disrepair through the years. And so much so that it was such a great brand that the people were clamoring for it to kind of come back to fruition. But they had so many logistical issues with regards to their packaging and with regards to their filling and their development and getting their product to market that could meet the demand of the region, that they were falling by the wayside and were actually about to go out of business. Well, they came to us, and it started with a very simple conversation around packaging. And we, within a very short time, made all of their packaging completely efficient and turnkey, where everything was coming from overseas, completed, just ready to fill. Where previously they would have to take A part and B part and C part and D part and put everything together. We did all of that for them. So that moved a lot of those challenges and brought efficiency. We then moved on to their machinery and built for them custom machinery to help the different parts of the bottlenecks of their process as well. And this provided efficiency and scale and so on. And I'm very happy to say that the brand is thriving, growing much better than it ever has been. And because they had so much kind of pent up demand for the time that they were kind of off the market, they've been able to really kind of develop a level or an allure of like scarcity. So it's really contributed to significant sales. So now they have the scale, the capability, the efficiency to service the needs in the market, and they're becoming a very, very exciting brand the way that people always wanted them to be. So I'm proud of that kind of a story, because it started very simple with, hey, help us with this one part of our packaging, and it turned into basically help us like run and develop the operations management of our business. And that's something that we do. That's something that we do here a lot. We look to connect the dots that people don't see. We look to have a conversation that starts maybe with one thing and then quickly turns into 20 things. And I think that is a key part of some of the things that we do here that's different than any other group that just kind of says, yeah, we'll get you something from overseas for low cost. That really is much more than that for us. We really analyze the business, its positioning, and its strategic place. And we look to facilitate areas of improvement wherever the customer is willing to kind of, go for. So yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of an overarching story. And we have a lot of them like that, a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like a very exciting project to work on. So congratulations on the success of that project. So Kerim, we've come to the end of the episode. We want to thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your insights and expertise on the subject. It's been great. It's a great talk. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Brett. Thank you so much. It's a great show, and we're very proud and honored to be part of the Alibaba family, and to be the first US-based verified supplier with Alibaba. Truly excited about what the future has to hold, and very happy to bring what we do here at the Atlas Network to any customers that need our help. Yeah, just truly appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working together for a long time to come.
Well, thanks again. That was the CEO of the Atlas Network, Kerim Kfuri, everyone. If you'd like to check out the Atlas Network's Alibaba.com storefront you can find it via the link in the video description below. And if you're interested in selling on Alibaba.com, check out the link in the video description below as well. We'll see you next time, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching the Alibaba.com Entrepreneur Talk. We got a bunch more seller interviews lined up, so be sure to subscribe if you want to get a notification for the next one. Also, check out our YouTube channel. You can find our Seller Success Story series there, where we highlight US and Canadian sellers on the platform. If you're interested in selling on Alibaba.com, you can check out a link in the description below or go to us.alibaba.com for more information. See you next time.